Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Pyromancer here, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And today, we're going to be talking about Fortnite. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to be talking about the Child of Light and Shadow, the demon elf himself. I didn't really mean to have it rhyme like that, but Illidan Stormrage, and why I believe he will inevitably return. So where do I start, man? I think Illidan is a lot of people's favorite character, primarily because of how Illidan is such an anti-hero. A lot of people really are drawn to Illidan specifically because of that fact, and it makes people really enjoy his character because, much like Sargeras, he's willing to do some of the more against the grain things in order to obtain victory than some of the other characters. A lot of other people, a lot of other characters in the game are, I'm going to devote myself to the light, or I'm going to devote myself to the old gods, or this or that, where Illidan has kind of always tried to shape his own destiny. And we see this very, very evidently in his actions, where he actually accepts the gift from Sargeras in order to try to work against the Legion. Now, when it comes to his return, a lot of people are already starting to get the idea that whatever's happening at the seat of the Pantheon is nowhere near finished. And the reason that we're saying this is because it took over 20 years from Warcraft 1 until now for them to actually unveil Sargeras in the game universe and actually really show him to us. And it was for what? A minute? 2 minutes in a cutscene? And then Illidan decides, every choice, every sacrifice has led me to this moment to face him once again. And Velen says to him, you're not coming with us? And Illidan says, the hunter is nothing without the hunt. Did you not foresee this fate, prophet? And Prophet Velen says, fate. Our survival was never in fate's hands. And then Illidan turns around and starts to walk away, and Velen, of course, light be with you, Illidan Stormrage. Very epic. The self-sacrifice, Illidan is going to be Sargeras' jailer to the seat of the Pantheon, and he's just going to keep him locked in that chair. He's just going to keep this giant demon titan locked to a chair forever. That's the plan here, right? That's what's supposed to be going on. Illidan will be the Dark Titan's jailer, and a lot of people, for some reason, think that Illidan could do anything to Sargeras. I think a lot of people are massively overlooking how powerful Sargeras is. Illidan is nothing. Illidan is less than nothing compared to a Titan. The only creature that has ever put a mark on Sargeras was Broxagar with an enchanted axe. So, I'm sorry to say it, but Illidan and his warglaives, they're not going to do anything to Sargeras. In fact, it doesn't sound like Illidan is actually necessary for this to go on at all. It's funny that he willingly opts into doing it, because the Titans never said anything about him staying. They never said anything about that. So Illidan stayed of his own accord, of course. This is the beauty of Illidan, right? My destiny is my own, as he shoots fell out of his eyes and completely decimates xe'ra. But here's the problem. We already know that Illidan is much like Sargeras. And while Sargeras comes off as the bad guy, comes off as the devil, basically, Lucifer, if you will, he is trying to obtain something good in the grand scheme of things, right? Good in quotations. Now, I've spoken about how I believe the Titans are beyond mortal morality. That is not something that gods generally in games are very focused on. They have their own goal. They don't really give a shit about our definition of good or bad. It's for existence in the cosmos generally is how this is how it would transpire in most situations. And because of this, I have to ask myself, is it really true that Illidan is going to keep Sargeras locked to that throne? And that could very well be where the Boy King's first lie comes in, because Ogmot does say, the first lie been told, bound by that throne? No. Free. The next going to come soon. Maybe they see this one, and I've really thought about what that means. Maybe they see this one, and I've talked about Aman'Thul potentially lying. I've talked about a couple different characters potentially lying, but I'm really thinking that it is the Boy King. It's Anduin. It's Anduin Wrynn, and they've made it as obvious as possible that he is the Boy King. Now, I think his first lie could very well be in the cutscene for 735, and that's probably why they kept it encrypted so we couldn't see it at all. Because in that cutscene, he says off screen, and because of their sacrifice and many others, we did the impossible. We defeated the Burning Legion.
To make that sacrifice, we did the impossible. We defeated the Burning Legion.
I think that's the Boy King's first lie. He says it himself. We did the impossible. It's impossible. The Burning Legion cannot be permanently defeated. It's a lie. It's not true. And a lot of people are already thinking that his second lie is in this new cutscene, the unveiling, the announcement of the release date of BFA, where Anduin Wrynn says, only one of us wanted this war. That could very well be the second lie. And really what that leads to is separate. But it brings me back to Sargeras. Is the Burning Legion truly defeated? Because Lothraxion, again, I'm going back to this, he was supposed to have dialogue that they ironically removed that said just because, Sargeras has been imprisoned doesn't mean that every demon in the universe will just give up. Not yet, at least, he says. And I'm definitely concerned that the Burning Legion is not defeated. I think there is certainly something transpiring, something going on here that is completely going over our heads, that we're not seeing at all. And I'm starting to wonder, if Argus truly is like a magnet for souls, and he can pull demon souls in, is it possible that as these demons have been dying on Argus, as we've been defeating them, he's been pulling their souls in, and when we defeated him, whatever happens with his soul, because we've discussed the possibility of Argus as the Titan of Death potentially returning or being transported into the Shadowlands, is it possible that he could carry all those demon souls with him? I ask you this because if it is, the fourth invasion of the Legion could actually come out of the Shadowlands, not as felled out green mode Legion demons as we've seen time and time again, but if Sargeras knows the truth, if he understands what's actually going on here, and I don't think many of us do at this point, he just might have shadow demons coming out of the Shadowlands. Think about this. The Shadowlands is basically like hell, right? And demons, as far as we know, come out of the Twisting Nether. Now, that's a different dimension, even. So we have interdimensional demons in the game, basically, which I always found so weird. They're born in the Twisting Nether because they're chaotic. It kind of makes sense, right? And then they rip their way through reality. They come in and then they fuck shit up, right? But how ironic would it be if Lucifer, as Sargeras, Lucifer, we're speaking figuratively here, works with Hades, Argus, to basically move all of the demons into hell. And then the final and absolute invasion of the Legion comes out of hell. So you have demons literally pouring out of hell. Because I've also talked about the possibility that Sylvanas and Helya make some type of bridge, some type of connection between the Shadowlands and the real world. My logic behind this was that if Sylvanas made that deal and got the soul cage from Helya, if she was able to enslave Aegir, had she been able to do that, she would have had infinite Valkyr. She would have potentially had an afterlife for the Forsaken via the Halls of Valor. So even if they bridged the Shadowlands to Azeroth and killed everything, it wouldn't matter. The reason it wouldn't matter is because, well, what does Sylvanas have to worry about? She has the conduit to controlling all of the Valkyr, right? So Sylvanas makes a way. But Gengramian, of course, comes and fucks it up. But that's a different story. Let's get back to the Sargeras and Illidan thing. I put out a tweet the other night, and I want you guys all to know, I don't really watch Supernatural myself, but I've spoken about it with some people. If you watch the show Supernatural, think of Sargeras like Lucifer, the right hand of God, the right hand of Aman'Thul, champion of the Pantheon, who committed the original sin, the ultimate sin, if you will, by killing another Titan. And then Sargeras eventually turns into what? He ends up becoming a demon. Now, I'm of the opinion that there is a possibility that Sargeras has always been a demon. However, that's beside the point. Even if he wasn't, we can still pretend, right? So now he's the fallen Titan, like the fallen angel Lucifer. The thing about Lucifer that a lot of people, if they're not Christian especially, don't know, and I'm impartial regardless, is that he was the most beautiful, the most powerful and divine angel of them all, literally meaning light, like bringer of light, light bringer, if you will. And it's funny because we see Sargeras and he's not as dark as we thought he was going to be. He's not even fel mode. He's all orange. He's very brilliant, vibrant, and light. But if you watch Supernatural, you can think of Illidan like Sam. And the way that I understand this is that Sam's destiny at some point is to allow Lucifer to inhabit his body. So you see where I'm going with this. Many ask, would it just be Illidan who returns, or would Sargeras return with him? And I have to say, man, I think that given Sargeras literally gave Illidan his broken vision, his unbiased vision, because essentially that's what Illidan has as the child of light and shadow. Because when you think about it, what's fel? Fel is chaos. It is everything, right? And how do you get fel? Well, I'm of the opinion that you take void and you take light and you fucking slam them together and you get fel. I also think it's possible that you can take fel and separate it to in some way get light and to get void. I think fel is in some way a middle ground, or perhaps light comes from fel. It's beside the point. The thing is that Illidan can choose his own destiny because Sargeras burned out his biased vision before. If you don't remember, Illidan Stormrage, even though he was born with a twin brother Malfurion, he was born with golden eyes. Now this is to mean the chosen one, if you will. And Illidan even says to xe'ra, I sacrificed that birthright long ago. When he took Sargeras' gift, he was shown the truth, the true power of the Legion by Sargeras, but he had to have his eyes burned out. I think this is interesting. It makes me wonder exactly what Sargeras showed him, because a lot of people assume he gazed upon the Legion world of Argus and saw their armies and stuff, but I have to wonder if he actually gazed upon Argus itself, the world soul itself, because we don't know how long Sargeras has been in possession of this thing, this titan of death. And when you look upon death, you know the truth. Death knows all. Death touches every living thing that ever has been, is, or will be. Death knows the answers, even when the light and the void can't find the answers themselves. This is why I believe the old gods are always right. If you guys ever noticed that, they're not wrong. When they told Deathwing the things that they told him, they weren't wrong. They pretty much all came true. The nightmares that Zul had, assuming that they did come from the old gods, which I think is pretty possible, they weren't wrong. Everything that Zul said came true as well. So knowing this, with this notion that death knows all and sees all, death knows truth. Death is truth. It's funny because in Antorus the Burning Throne, I believe Illidan even makes mention that demons would sooner pluck out their eyes than gaze upon the world soul of Argus. Why would they do that? Why would demons rather rip their eyes out than look at the world soul? Because once you look at it, you're going to pay for that. Whether that means getting your eyes burned out, whether for a demon that means final death, and that's what I'm going to refer to it as, is a final death, I don't know. But when it comes to Illidan and Sargeras, I would love to see, and I don't know about you guys, I would absolutely freaking love to see a cutscene of Sargeras in that chair on the seat of the Pantheon just seething, fucking raging at Illidan for what he did. Or maybe, just maybe, it was all part of the plan the whole time. And Illidan stayed for a reason. Now, the correlation that I'm drawing with the Supernatural thing, and I'm not saying that WoW bases their story off Supernatural, I'm just drawing a correlation here to give you an idea, is that what if Sargeras can't be freed from the seat? We're just going to assume that for the sake of the idea here. What if Sargeras talked Illidan into allowing him to put part of his soul into Illidan, and they return not as separate entities, but as one? As Sargeras's chosen, devout, basically savior of the universe. Because I think a lot of people overlooked this in the xe'ra questlines, where xe'ra is telling you about the history of Illidan. She refers to him as the child of light and shadow, of course, and speaks about how his destiny was forged long ago, and it found its home in a vessel on Azeroth in one named Illidan Stormrage. So Illidan's purpose, His actual reason for existence has been carved and etched into the history of the cosmos over aeons of time. It's something that has been long planned, and Sargeras, for some reason, interrupted that. He, for some reason, broke that prophecy, and that's what xe'ra was trying to fulfill. So, I think it's very, very possible that Sargeras, whether Illidan agrees to it or not, shoots a piece of his soul into Illidan's body, inhabits him, and they return as one merged soul. Or perhaps Sargeras shoots some light into Illidan, mixing with the fel, the demon inside of him, and basically makes him that luminescent, beautiful, orange, what I believe to be basically holy fire that is Sargeras. Now, the thing about this is, Gul'dan has received this same power before atop the Nighthold. It was supposed to go to Illidan, but it didn't, because Gul'dan once again betrayed the Legion. Gul'dan also received that power in the Tomb of Sargeras, based on the Tomb of Sargeras audio drama, and he had free will still at that moment. He was still not bound by the Legion, but he had the choice to give Kil'jaeden the power so Kil'jaeden could open the rift to Argus at the bottom of the tomb. That rift, that connection has been there all of Legion, by the way. And it makes me wonder, just because it's light doesn't mean that Illidan would necessarily be ridden of his free will. Given that we saw Gul'dan still had his, it's very, very possible that Sargeras literally looks at Illidan and says, Illidan, you were born with a destiny that would have locked you into servitude to the light forever. I gave you freedom. I gave you choice. I gave you the option to shape your own destiny regardless of what the rest of the cosmos had planned for you. And understand my reason. I believe Sargeras could say to him, I will give you the choice. I will not force you. I cannot force you. But understand that what the rest of the Pantheon are doing is not right. We must find a way to save Azeroth, or we will all be doomed to swim in the endless vortex that is the all-consuming void. And Illidan may look at Sargeras and finally see the truth. His eyes may finally be opened to that which Sargeras has been trying to show him the entire time. That the Pantheon is not quite as benevolent as Chronicle makes them out to be. Fuck, Chronicle talks about how the Naaru are purely benevolent. Purely holy energy. Only light. Only. By nature. But we've seen that Naaru tend to have this almost natural cycle back to the void. It's almost like what Illyria was shown when she was swimming in the void with Locust Walker in 1000 Years' War. It's almost like that story about the light burning worlds in holy fire, taking creatures of the void and cramming them into crystals. It's almost like that's true. It's almost like that's how Naaru are made. It's funny because Locust Walker tells Illyria that that's not true, but after what we're seeing with the Naaru, I'm starting to kind of think it is. In Lura, the one that's in the Seat of the Triumvirate, she seemed relatively happy with her state. There's even more to it in that Velen, in one of the quest lines after vanquishing Talgath and Makari, Velen actually exposes to Turalyon that there is a void Naaru inside the seat. And he's just shocked. Turalyon is just shocked. And he says, you know, why did xe'ra not tell me of this? And Velen himself says there is much that xe'ra did not want you to know. We're being held out on. We're being lied to. Our mortal eyes are so easily clouded that we're not seeing the truths behind what's happening. In Sargeras, I think, knows the truth. I hope. Sargeras knows death. Sargeras knows final. He knows the eternal. He knows of the eternal conflict, right? I'm going to end on this. Do I think Illidan will come back? Yes. Do I think Sargeras will come back? Yes. Do they have to come back as separate entities? No. It's very, very possible that Illidan either willingly allows Sargeras to merge part of his soul with Illidan to grant him power and free will, or it is possible that Illidan just says, you know what? Fuck it. I'll let you out. Let's go save the universe, Sargeras. Let's do it. Why not? And a lot of people are thinking, oh, that's super corny. They already brought Illidan back one time. That's been planned for a long time. A lot of people are missing that the whole reason for that expansion that we don't talk about now was so that we could go back, get another Gul'dan to lead to the eventual release of Illidan anyway. The events atop the Nighthold were wildly important to the storyline, regardless of whether that expansion, which should not be named, was well executed. It was still important. So with that being said, I'd really love to know your guys' thoughts. Would you be opposed to another Illidan return, especially if it was in this manner? If the truth is finally revealed to him that the essential Lucifer of the universe, the fallen angel, who seems to actually have good intentions in our case, even if he's going about it in not the best way ever, could actually convince him. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, because it is, of course, the best way for me to know if you did enjoy the video. I certainly would appreciate that. Leave a comment down below if you have any input on it, whether you agree, disagree. It's totally cool, you guys. I appreciate it. And that's pretty much it. If you guys don't know, I do have a Twitter, Twitch, and a Patreon page, which you can find links to all down in the description below. And I do have a Discord where you can come and talk about some of these lore theories with me and some others pretty much anytime. So anyways, you guys, I love and appreciate you very much. Stay awesome, and until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.